instead of me like leading a conversation, why don't you just start running through quick fruited sours?
Quick rundown on fruited quick sours. Unlike most people, we don't sour in the kettle. We have dedicated fermenters that we are able to use to do lacto fermentations and mixed culture fermentations in. So this is not going to be a kettle soured beer. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, grist for these Pilsner base, usually about 25% body malt in there. So wheat, oats, parapils. I do use lactose in them. Usually about a 1048 beer, 12 Plato beer, right in that range. Water, usually 2-to-1, chloride to sulfate, nothing crazy. Mash at 5.3. This is another beer that we do this one has a post-boil whirlpool phosphoric adjustment. And this beer will take down in between 4.5 to 4.8 pH. And that is to preserve, it does two things. It helps get some head on the beer. Lactobacillus can break down proteins during its fermentation or during when it's forming acid. Lowering that pH before you pitch your lactobacillus can kind of keep it out of the range where it's able to do that. So 4.5 to 4.8. The other thing that does is kind of keep your wort in a more acidic zone. Again, like we were talking about, having your final pH in hazy IPAs under 4.5. So the same microstability is in play here, especially when you're knocking your wort out. Like we pitch our lactobacillus at 90 degrees. Okay. So you're testing your CIP and SIP regimen pretty thoroughly there. I mean, I think that's right in the middle of every danger zone that you're gonna food safety and whatnot. So sure. It helps there. The other thing that we're doing to inhibit growth in the fermenter is we're purging. So lactobacillus is anaerobic. It does not need oxygen to make acid. Most of the microbes that can spoil your wort do. There's a great bit on this in the NOMA cookbook about fermentation, fermented foods. They cover that pretty thoroughly. Anyway, so pitch at 90. We use lactoplantarum exclusively. I use it from Bootleg Biology. There's some fine folks there in Nashville, Tennessee. If you're at CBC this year, or next month, I guess, month after, May, stop in and see Jeff and the crew at Bootleg. They make some fantastic cultures.
Why specifically Bootleg? Do you just had good experience with them?
Their lactoplantarum, I really like the flavors it produces, and it is dead consistent. We can hit, typically these beers will sour down to 3.2 in about 24 to 36 hours. It's super reliable. We've repitched it. It works great. Second pitch, third pitch. So it's very consistent, and I like the flavor, especially for this style of beer, from lactoplantarum better than I do like plantarum and brevis combined or brevis alone. It's a little plantarum is just nice and lemony and tart. It's very pleasant, complementary to fruit. So it works really well. Mashing, we're typically 153, 154. Trying to leave some body in these beers and a little bit of sweetness. No IBUs at all. Well, I mean, I put like 3 pellets in there, so we're legal.
Street legal, baby. Yeah.
So it is actually beer. Yeah, 1042 usually with the grist, and then after the lactose addition, it punches the gravity up to about 1048. Mash about 53. We're going to have a lot of acidity in this beer from the lactobacillus, so we're going to our pH post lacto fermentation is going to be about 3.2, 3.3, and we're also adding a lot of fruit, which is going to bring its own acids into play. So that's where we've done these beers with and without lactose, and I can't really mash them hot enough to leave enough body and residual sugar to make the beer drink balanced without adding some lactose in it. The other way you could go is to add fruit back to the fermenter. Obviously, you can't package those beers, but you can back sweeten with a puree if you like.
Sure.
A beer or two like that. It actually comes out quite nice. But obviously, you have product stability issues.
Yeah.
Have to be just an in-house type beer. And of course, nowadays there are people that are pounding those beers full of quite a high amount of puree and
47%.
Yeah, right. I mean,
sometimes more.
Bring your own spoon. Well, power to them, man. I know people like them.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, they're delicious.
Yeah,
they are delicious. Fruit's delicious. Absolutely.
Yeast selection. I talked about planetarium. So we'll go through that lacto fermentation, hit target pH, usually 24 to 36 hours. At that point, we'll drop temperature down to our target range for our ale yeast. Just a clean ale yeast, California ale yeast, or something like SO4. 002 would work really well here. You do want to make sure you're using some yeast nutrient, because it's a pretty harsh environment to pitch yeast in. We're usually in a bit of an overpitch situation as well. You want to get a lot of cells in there. And the other thing we do is because we've gone into a purge fermenter right out of the heat X, we have no oxygen in there at this point. So what I've been doing is I'll leave a carb stone in the fermenter, and then hook that up to our O2 bottle, and then before fermentation, I'll hit that thing with some oxygen
before pitching the standard yeast.
Yep. So we get plenty of O2 in there, plenty of yeast nutrient, a lot of healthy cells, and let that thing go. If you underpitch or under nutrient or under O2 here, it will bite you, because it's such an acidic environment. You can end up with some acetaldehyde and other issues with beer.
Sulfur?
I've never personally experienced it, but I'm sure that's in the realm of possibilities.
Yep.
You can certainly, if your stack fermentation isn't that great, you're going to be looking at a beer you need to sit on for a fair amount of time at de-rest temperatures to get it to clean up. So pitch a lot of yeast and make sure it's got what it needs once it gets in there.
Sure.
So yeah, oxygen, and then we'll go all the way through fermentation. Usually tail end, last day or two, we're going to add fruit. Make sure our yeast is still fairly active. We fruit these beers pretty heavily. A 20 barrel batch, we're going to hit with about 800 pounds of puree.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's awesome.
18, sometimes 20 boxes of Oregon fruit puree. I would love to be able to do these beers with fresh, locally sourced fruit, but I don't have that amount of time.
Sure.
So yeah, we also use, and I think it's overlooked by a lot of people in these beers. We use pectinase, the pectin enzyme. You can get that from BSG. It really helps break that fruit down and drive some clarity in the final beer. So these beers really look great in a glass. If you put them in a nice and some nice stemware and showcase that color, like we do a raspberry beer that's it's really bright red and with great pink foam on it, and they really look great in the glass when they're clear like that. And pectinase certainly helps drive that. A lot of times we'll come out of the fermenter and be transferring into the bright tank, and I often question why I even add biofine to those beers, because they're almost always brilliantly clear coming right out of the FB.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So just one quick question: is there a top 3 fruit varieties that you feel works really well, even if it's personal preference?
Yeah. Well, I mean, raspberry is easily the best puree. I mean, in our brewery and in my personal taste, I mean, it comes across really nice. It's kind of like the Citra hops of the fruit world. It's like if you put it in something, it's not going to suck.
Sure.
You know.
And I'm assuming there's also consumer preference there as well. You know,
Yeah, it comes across really nicely in the beers. It tastes great. It looks pretty in a glass. One that I can only get on occasion, I think is a really nice complementary fruit, is Meyer lemon, which is usually quite a bit different than the regular lemon. It really just has a nice, it's almost an orange-like flavor, but it's still punchy like lime or like a lemon. Complements raspberry quite well. You can find that.
Interesting. So you're folding
easy.
that in, like, what are we talking about? If you're talking about the 700 to 800 pounds, how many boxes or how many pounds are typically that Meyer lemon that you're using as a
Like
magnifier? Two boxes.
like 2 to 3, yeah.
So
and I mean,
that's
again,
88 to 120 pounds ish.
Yeah. And the other thing you have to take into consideration is, like with Plantarum, is you're already going to have a fair amount of lemony type flavors in there. So you can go overboard with lemon or we call them picker fruits, stuff that's going to punch up whatever the main fruit that you're using in there.
Sure. Well, excellent. Is there anything else that you have on that? I think we're toward the end of our notes on it.
No, I think that's it. I think that covers it.
Okay. Do you like, as far as carbonation goes, do you like to make those real bright?
As high as our draft system will handle, so like 2.8.
Yeah, nice and bright, right?
We have those on. We have 3 sour dedicated handles, and 2 of them are flow control, so you can punch that up a little bit on some of those.
Nice.
Well,
nice. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.